So, after checking the original live-action He-Man movie, nothing fairer than try the new one. I heard a lot of good things about it, but let's find out if it's true. Directed by Travis Knight, who also directed Kubo and the Two Strings, Masters of the Universe is a retelling of the classic He-Man story. This time, Adam, played by Nicholas my accent's too bad. Nicholas was sent to Earth not to find a cosmic key this time, but rather to be saved from the forces of Skeletor, played by Jared Leto. Now he must find his sword of power in order to return home, then find his allies such as Man-at-Arms, here played by Idris Elba, and Tila, played by Camila Mendes, to bring peace back to Eternia. And right out of the gate, I can say that the visuals were the best thing about this movie. Eternia has an interestingly diverse color palette, also drawn from the He-Man cartoon, with a thicker bloom effect and focus on red in order to contrast with Earth. In fact, this movie's biggest draw is its visual fidelity and or inspiration. There are several characters that were unabashedly drawn from the cartoon and kept as close as they could, such as Trapjaw and Skeletor. Some are mild adaptations with understandable deviations such as Man-at-Arms and Tila, and some are completely changed but still recognizable such as Ran-Man and Fisto. This direct inspiration is still carried by the really good visual effects. Keen eyes will easily catch several references everywhere, such as the old transition screen. I especially liked the transformation sequence with the flashes of the Grayskull Palace. The directing is overall efficient and okay, it still carries the current trend of quicker cuts and more dynamic motion, but it's nothing even remotely as awful as Hail Mary's editing. But, on the other hand, the action scenes are actually good. Some are still messy and draw from the comic book style of the Eternians being made of rubber, able to withstand a lot more than a human would. But this time we actually see He-Man using his sword and killing people who are absolutely not robots. If the phrase seems weird to you, you definitely didn't grow in the 80s wishing Mattel would lay off its ridiculous demands already. The choreographies are inspired by Marvel action flicks mixed with John Wick, but I wouldn't say this is a bad thing, just different from what I'm used to. In fact, the highest point of the movie to me was the scene where He-Man goes absolutely master of the universe on Skeletor's goons. Speaking of, yeah, the rumors about how Jared Leto's weirdness transmorphed into something actually good for the movie are true. While he lacks the absolutely unapologetic glee of Frank Langella going so cartoonish evil he transcends the barrier between the cheesy and turns into something actually Shakespearean, Jared Leto does seem to have enjoyed his tenure as the blue muscle skeleton, providing an entertaining antagonist with some quirks of his own. Whenever he spoke, he tried to use his lips as little as possible, and the confusion and fear of his minions is genuine. The actors didn't know what the hell he was saying and were afraid of breaking the scene. His Skeletor is more childish and sadistic to Langella's egomaniac and intelligent one, but both are entertaining and deadly, being one of the best elements of their respective movies. Deciding who is the best will boil down to personal preference though. As for the rest of the cast, they did seem to have enjoyed their roles, even though the quality of the acting will vary. Alison Brie played Evelyn a bit too purposefully cheesy for my tastes. I believe that comedy is at its best when actors play seriously to heighten the absurd, such as the Naked Gun series or Jared Leto himself here. Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms, well, he played Idris Elba. Dude has been playing versions of himself for years now, but that's okay. I was actually surprised with Nicholas' acting. I had never seen any of his other works, but he did manage well a train wreck of a man who spent his whole life haunted by every figure he admired, cast in a strange world and called crazy, acting through his highest moments when he unlocked his powers to his lowest, the most dramatic moments when everything is screwed up. Camila Mendes as Tila, well, I feel that while she tried her best, there was a visible lack of chemistry with the rest of the cast, which I would chalk down to the writing, because, well, okay, I'll be honest from the get-go. I almost didn't make this review because at the end of the day, this is the same boring, sloping writing of the modern USA Hollywood movie. And I felt tired of hitting the same keys and problems over and over and over. It's not egregiously bad, I was entertained. There was a lot of potential, there were some funny moments, the cast was good, the effects were also good, but the writing basically sucked a lot of what made He-Man interesting in the first place, and replaced it with standard non-threatening play it safe material. First and foremost, nearly everyone in this flick is an asshole. King Randor is an asshole to young Adam, talking about strength and weakness and beating the crap out of a child who can barely hold a sword. Man-at-Arms, who is supposed to be a drill sergeant, acts as if a band of teens were the USA Army, and even then he is awful at pep and moralizing talks. Skeletor invades out of nowhere, Adam is sent to Earth, and the second element happens. Cringe-word comedy. We get a time skip. Now Adam is an adult that still behaves like a child, without an ounce of common sense and fixated on getting the sword of power. Instead of becoming someone who could actively scour the world to find the sword, or having his complexes pushing him into training, he fully descends into despicable villainy by becoming part of human resources. But could be a lot worse, like being a lawyer, or a politician, or a hobbyist reviewer on YouTube. Even if he is an adult, he still behaves like a child that never developed common sense, talking about his life to a date as if expecting anything else than being seen as insane. Anyway, moving on. We are told, not shown, that Adam is a competent AR guy. We have some actually funny visual puns. He finds the sword, the more cringy comedy, then he is attacked, and Tila finds him, and together they go back to Eternia, where it's revealed that Man-at-Arms was turned into a drunken mess after losing in the beginning of the movie, and now he has a strained relationship with his daughter. Isn't this nice? Adam finds his old allies, who treat him with disdain, distrust, and well, act like assholes. Don't worry, I won't spoil the movie, but the writing has the usual allergy to genuine moments, like a scene of two people having a heart-to-heart conversation here replaces basic human interaction with cringe-word comedy and underwhelms several good moments with Marvel-esque jokes. There is a lesson about what makes a man, about kindness and human contact, but it's heavily muddled due to the aforementioned lack of honest moments replaced with cringe comedy alongside the self-depreciation jokes, as if the writers and producers were too afraid of going back to childhood nostalgia and make viewers genuinely happy. For example, they keep making fun of Fisto's name as if this was a Reddit thread. You know what? You. This is a fantasy world. Bizarre names are allowed. If you want a full nostalgia romp, go all the way, you dirty cowards. Yeah, Fisto has obvious sex connotations, but you know what also has? Everything else if you put in a specific point of view. Nostalgia movies are meant to evoke that nice cozy time when you were a kid in a rainy afternoon in front of the TV after a bad day, and this includes He-Man being a decent person. This includes cheesy but earnest moral lessons, the awful puns, not behaving as if your date just stepped into your bedroom and found your old Masters of the Universe toys on a shelf. And this tonal shift basically ensures that only Skeletor works here. Why? Because awkward cringe comedy was already part of the character. He was an evil overlord who claimed that he was evil while carrying a puppy.
Listen, I am not nice, I am not kind, and I am not wonderful.
And this movie boils down to high quality nostalgia bait. But nostalgia bait nonetheless, because it's too afraid of embracing what people loved about He-Man, cheese warts and all. The idea of He-Man growing up on Earth, desperate to find his sword and being sent back to Eternia could have worked in several different and interesting ways, but it's hampered by the need to make him a bumbling buffoon, which incidentally makes that whole section a huge waste of time. You could have sent him to the jungle to live like a caveman for 15 years and nothing would have changed. While there's a lot of praise in the visuals and acting, I honestly struggled a lot to find anything that I liked about the story itself that wasn't tied to nostalgia. I mean, except when Skeletor dives into He-Man's head, that part was really nice and hilarious. Oh, and the ending was also fun. Well, at least the music was made by Daniel Pemberton? What the are you doing here? We need to stop meeting like this. For those who don't watch my other videos, this dude is basically on his path to be the next Hans Zimmer, because he has been in a lot of big productions, like The Bad Guys or Project Hail Mary, and so far he has done a superb job in each one. And if you feel that the soundtrack is somewhat familiar, that's because he worked alongside Brian May, yes, from Queen. Yeah, the guitars are also nice, honestly, especially when the old themes of the cartoon hit right at the perfect moment. There are also some licensed songs being used very well, with some surprises and references, so I have no complaints about the soundtrack. But in the end, if the 1987 He-Man movie had a lot of ambition but lacked a budget, the 2026 has a lot of budget but lacks any sort of ambition. It ends entertaining, and while it is indeed better than some movies I've seen this year, with a nice visual fidelity and a really good soundtrack, it wastes a lot of interesting possibilities and material going through an already beaten and boring path. I understand why lots of people loved this movie due to the high fidelity, but no wonder it bombed so hard on the screen since it feels yet another North American quirky film. Say me, I'd wait till this on streaming if you are curious. As for the spoilers, basically the crux of this movie is about what makes a man strong. Duncan feels he fails to protect the royal family when he got his ass kicked by Trapjaw. King Randor talks about how his son must be strong. There's always a quest to feel strong, etc. And it's fine and dandy. In fact, nowadays this could have been a wonderful lesson which is pretty much needed, except that the execution is downright terrible. Whenever Duncan tries to approach his daughter, he is smacked back. Whenever he tries to talk with Adam, suddenly two grown-up men who should be skilled in talking to others cannot talk like normal people. The sorcerers tell Adam that the power is within him because of his good heart, but we don't see a single good act. None. Zero. The rebel base is attacked and He-Man escapes with his closest friends. He doesn't try to stay behind to ensure that people escape, and everyone is captured and some are even executed. He doesn't uplift the spirits of those who need him. At best, Adam does a shitty PR speech that somehow uplifts everyone into helping him. And the worst thing is that everything it wanted to do could be easily made to work with some care. You can even keep both Adam and He-Man and make a situation where, for example, Adam uses his PR training to actually uplift people without shitty comedic talk. Perhaps the people of Eternia are scattered and they don't trust He-Man or trust each other, but they would trust Adam. Perhaps the warriors are worried about Adam getting to the fray, since he's the prince and thus he has to transform into He-Man. Perhaps everyone wants He-Man to just kick Skeletor's ass, but He-Man insists in helping every person on the way, using his enormous strength to help people rebuild, and this differentiates him from other users of the power. But this would mean actually letting go of the shitty recipe, let go of the shitty comedy, and investing into something genuine. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much. See you all next time, and remember to like and subscribe.